Nicki Minaj is not just a rapper, she is a phenomenon. A woman whose rise to power in a male-dominated industry rewrote the rules for female artists. But beneath the neon wigs, animated voices, and lyrical dominance lies a more complex and darker psychological truth, one that mirrors Friedrich Nietzsche's unsettling insights about success, morality, and the nature of power. Her story is not just one of triumph and talent. It is also a case study in how the human psyche navigates betrayal, threat, and the long shadow cast by the pursuit of greatness. To understand Nicki Minaj psychologically, one must move beyond biography and statistics. Yes, her debut album, Pink Friday, broke records. Yes, her verse on Kanye West's Monster established her as a lyrical heavyweight. And yes, she became the first solo female rapper to perform at Yankee Stadium. But real psychological depth lies in the turns her story took after success, particularly when new female rappers began to rise. As Nietzsche observed, power is rarely content with being shared. It desires permanence, centrality, and dominance. When a figure like Megan Thee Stallion emerged, a younger artist with talent, charisma, and mass appeal, Minaj's response was not open-armed mentorship, but subtle suspicion. Though they collaborated once, Megan's subsequent hit, WAP, with Cardi B, Minaj's longtime rival, was a psychological wound, a public betrayal, at least in appearance. And betrayal, especially for those with fragile egos born from repeated rejection, triggers deep defense mechanisms. Long before the fame, Nicki Minaj, born Anaconda Mirage, experienced instability. Raised in a household plagued by domestic violence and addiction, she learned early how to assert power through control. Her alter egos, Roman Zelensky, Barbie, Nikki Lewinsky, were not just marketing tools. They were psychological defenses, personas she created to manage a chaotic world. In many ways, these characters are Jungian archetypes, masks the psyche wears to protect the vulnerable self beneath. As Carl Jung wrote, every individual possesses a shadow, the unconscious part of the self that holds repressed emotions, fears, and desires. In Minaj's case, her shadow seems to erupt whenever her status feels threatened. The internet age has made this shadow more visible. Twitter tirades, public feuds, and the weaponization of her massive fan base, the Barbs, reveal a psyche constantly at war, with outsiders, with challengers, and perhaps with herself. Her feud with Cardi B reached a literal boiling point in 2018 when the two had a physical altercation at New York Fashion Week. Cardi accused Nicki of disrespecting her child. Nicki responded with tweets and radio rants, claiming moral superiority. But what both women were fighting over wasn't a quote or an insult, it was territory, psychological territory, the symbolic crown of female rap. And the crown, as Nietzsche might say, rarely sits peacefully on more than one head. Nietzsche argued that morality, especially in Western culture, is often a tool of the powerless to restrain the strong. Good and evil, in his view, are not fixed truths, but cultural judgments that favor submission over strength. Nicki Minaj's career exemplifies this tension. She is criticized for being too brash, too sexual, too loud. But these criticisms often mask a deeper discomfort. She refuses to conform. In fact, her outbursts, her theatricality, and her constant doubling down in the face of backlash may be evidence of what Nietzsche called the will to power, the driving force behind human behavior. For Nicki, power is not only a goal, it's a necessity. Fame is not a reward, it is survival. And this need becomes more urgent as the industry and the public begin to embrace newer stars. In recent years, her choices have drawn increasing criticism. Her marriage to Kenneth Petty, a registered sex offender, and her defense of her brother, who was convicted of child assault, have raised moral alarms. Psychologically, these decisions suggest a strong inclination to protect those she feels loyalty toward, even if it means denying or minimizing harm. This aligns with defense mechanisms like moral disengagement, where one reframes unethical behavior to maintain self-image and emotional security. Moreover, her Twitter meltdowns, particularly in response to Megan Thee Stallion's diss line invoking Megan's Law, which her husband violated, suggest a person in psychological crisis. Attacking Megan's physical appearance, family trauma, and credibility reveals not power but fear. When a person feels existentially threatened, they may resort to shadow projection, projecting their own insecurity onto others. In Jungian psychology, this is common when the ego feels it is losing control of the self-image it has constructed. Nicki Minaj's fame is not wholesome. It is barbed and theatrical and often violent. Yet this is precisely what makes her such a potent psychological figure. She does not wear the mask of humility. She flaunts power, sexual agency, and rage. She takes up space, and yet she seems tormented by the same system she once mastered. Her recent diss track, Bigfoot, aimed at Megan, was widely mocked, not just for its juvenile lyrics or AI-generated cover, but because it felt like a last gasp of someone losing grip on a narrative she used to control. The fact that the diss centered around Megan's dead mother, her physical trauma, and claims of dishonesty only further alienated fans. In this moment, Nicki stopped being the anti-hero and veered into the villain. But villains, as psychology reminds us, are often wounded heroes. The difference lies in how they process their pain. Instead of transformation, Nicki has leaned into retaliation. Instead of seeking rebirth, she wages war. There is perhaps no more Nietzschean question than, why do bad people succeed? Or more precisely, why do those who challenge moral norms often rise to power? Nietzsche's answer was simple, because success does not require goodness. It requires will. And Nicki Minaj has will in abundance. But Nietzsche also warned that the greatest danger to a powerful individual is resentment. The longer they hold on to past slights, the more they become consumed by their own bitterness. Nicki's career has reached a stage where resentment has overtaken creativity. Instead of writing new myths, she is revisiting old battles. The tragedy of Nicki Minaj is not that she is evil. It's that she may be lost inside a system that rewards shadow behavior until it consumes the self. A woman once praised for innovation is now mocked for regression. A goddess of transformation now clings to the same mask too long. Nicki Minaj is not a villain, nor is she a saint. She is something far more human, flawed, brilliant, reactionary, insecure, dominant. A woman who rose by daring to embody both beauty and rage, but the psychological cost of that embodiment is steep. Her story is a Nietzschean parable. Power requires boldness, but unchecked, breeds delusion. Fame rewards aggression, but only until it turns grotesque. And morality? It is not a fixed point. It is negotiated in real time by those with the loudest voice. In the end, Nicki Minaj is not just a case study in success. She is a mirror, a reflection of what it means to want everything and risk becoming nothing in return. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe